You know, every single day, you make literally thousands of choices. And they feel so deliberate, right? So intentional. They feel like they're yours. But what if that feeling of choosing, what if it's just a story your brain tells you after the decision is already made? Okay, let's get into this, because the science here is absolutely fascinating and honestly, a little bit unsettling. So you wake up. Boom. The first decision hits you before your feet even touch the floor. What am I going to wear today? You're thinking about the weather, your schedule, maybe just how you're feeling, right? And then it's just a cascade, isn't it? Which route should I take to work? Where am I going to grab lunch? Every single turn, every destination, it feels like a direct command that you issued from mission control. And of course, the choices get bigger. Who do you talk to? Who do you actually listen to? Who do you believe? All day long, you feel like you're the pilot, navigating this huge sea of decisions. Or were you really? What if I told you that in every single one of those moments, your brain had already made the call long before you were even aware of it? I mean, think about it for a second. Our entire sense of who we are is built on this feeling of control. I think, therefore I do. When you reach for that coffee cup, you feel like you're the author of that action. It's probably the most fundamental experience we have. But what if neuroscience is telling us that feeling is just a great story? So, this is where it gets really weird. It seems our conscious mind isn't the one actually initiating the action. Instead, thoughts and decisions just, well, they kind of bubble up from the deep, complex wiring of our brain. And only then does our conscious awareness pop up, look at what happened, and say, oh yeah, I meant to do that. That was me. So you're probably wondering, where does this wild idea even come from? This isn't just some philosophical thought experiment. Nope. It's rooted in some truly groundbreaking and kind of famous experiments. Let's get to the crucial evidence and see how scientists first figured this out. Okay, so this all goes back to the famous Libet experiments in the 1980s. Here's what they did. They hooked people up to brain scanners and just told them, press a button whenever you feel the urge. Simple, right? But what they found was wild. The brain activity that predicted the button press, it started building up seconds before the person consciously said they felt the urge to act. We're talking whole seconds here. In brain time, that is an absolute eternity. So what does that actually mean? It means the action was already well underway long before the feeling of choosing even showed up to the party. Your brain had already cast its vote, while your conscious self was still walking into the polling booth, thinking it was in charge. So if our conscious mind isn't making the call, then who or what is? Well, this points to a prime suspect, the vast, silent, powerful machinery of our subconscious. Now, the subconscious isn't some spooky monster hiding in the shadows. It's actually just the sum total of, well, of you. It's like the ghost of every experience you've ever had, the echo of every lesson you've learned, the blueprint of your genes, and the rhythm of all your emotional habits. Think of it like a super powerful operating system, always running in the background, silently shaping your every move. There's a really great metaphor for this that just nails it. Consciousness isn't the author, writing the story of your life. It's more like a narrator who arrives after the story has already begun. Its job is just to read the script that the subconscious already wrote and try to make sense of it all for you. I know, this all sounds pretty disconcerting, right? So you have to ask, why would our brains even work this way? Why go to all the trouble of maintaining this elaborate illusion of control? Well, it turns out the so-called illusion isn't a bug in the system at all. It's actually a critical feature. See, this feeling that we're in charge is basically the glue that holds us together. It creates a stable, coherent me at the center of everything. It's also what lets us connect our actions to consequences, which is, the entire basis for learning anything. And on a bigger scale, it's the bedrock of all our social structures, things like accountability and justice. Honestly, without this story of being in control, our whole sense of self could just fracture. Of course, this is where things get really tricky, because it raises some huge questions about responsibility. I mean, if our choices are just bubbling up from our subconscious, are we really truly to blame for our actions? Now, this new way of looking at it doesn't just erase responsibility, but it for sure reframes it in a big way. And this really highlights that shift in thinking. The old framework, that's all about blame and punishment. But this new understanding, it pushes us to look so much deeper. Instead of just stopping at blame, it makes us ask, what were the real underlying causes? What were their past experiences, the biology, the conditioning that led to this behavior? The focus totally shifts from just punishment over to understanding and maybe even prevention. So, if we're not the authors, if we're not the drivers in the front seat, then what does that make us? This leads to a final, really profound shift in how we can think about our own selves. Maybe, just maybe, the whole point of consciousness isn't to do things, but to witness them, to observe the actions that our amazing brain takes, to interpret the outcomes, and then to weave a meaningful story from all of it. So yeah, you may not be the one steering the ship, but you're the one on the deck, watching the incredible journey unfold and deciding what it all means. And that's really the ultimate question here, isn't it? This realization that your brain makes a decision before you are even aware of it, does that idea frighten you? Or, in a strange way, does it maybe feel liberating? There's no easy answer to that one, but it's definitely something worth thinking about.